Hello and welcome to Listen Watch Go. Today I'm starting my first in a series of videos called Greatest Cinematic Moments, where I pick and talk about some of my favourite moments from cinema over the years. My first pick is a film from Japan called A Page of Madness. It's a film that in many ways we're very lucky to have. There are very few Japanese films exist from the silent era. Almost all of them have been lost, either to earthquakes or war or just sheer human carelessness. As we know, film is a very fragile medium, physically speaking, so it doesn't take much for it to be destroyed. If we look at the films from the 40s through to the 60s, it must be one of the best countries in the world in terms of the quality of the cinema it's producing. Guys such as Ozu, Kurosawa, Mizoguchi, just pumping out masterpieces. But if you go back a little bit further in time from these guys, the cinematic landscape from Japan looks a little bit empty. But we have this one film that managed to make it through intact. Not all of it has survived. I think we have about 2/3 of it. In fact, this film was considered lost entirely until it was rediscovered in 1971 by the director himself. So it's a film that's also very difficult to follow, not just because we only have 2/3 of it, but also because traditionally this would have been projected and performed with a narrator who would be helping the audience along with the story. We obviously don't have that luxury. We just have the visuals to try and interpret what's happening. But in its own way, this almost has the charm of it watching it now. I mean, it's so far removed from the cinema we're used to. Anyway, there's a little bit of history and context for you. The film's about a husband and wife in an insane asylum. He's the janitor and she is an inmate. The moment I've chosen from this film as one of the greatest cinematic moments is actually the opening scene. The film opens with a shot of heavy rainfall. We see a large spinning ball and a woman dressed very extravagantly dancing in front of it. The camera slowly tracks backwards and gradually we see that the scene is taking place behind cell bars. Following that, we see the truth and the reality of the woman's appearance, and the fantasy of those previous shots is kind of stripped away. We see the asylum and we see the woman dancing in a cell. One of the most striking aspects of the scene is the editing. The combination of the fast edits and the double exposures creates this sense of frantic confusion. We see the weather and shots of instruments superimposed over it, and the woman is dancing to the storm as if it was music. This visual metaphor of the musical instruments imposed over the storm reminds me of a later film that will come out of Hollywood called The Wind, in which the double exposures of horses are used much in the same way to signify the power of a sandstorm. So as the woman is dancing, the cuts get faster and faster until the woman collapses on the floor and you see the blood on her feet. I think the editing in this scene is very experimental for the time. I haven't seen that many films from this era using this combination of editing techniques in such a dramatic way. One that comes to mind is a 1929 film called Man with a Movie Camera, which is a Russian film which uses equally frenetic editing techniques, although it does so in a more abstract way. It's not so much to convey specific feelings and tell a story quite in this way. So that's my first pick for one of the greatest cinematic moments, A Page of Madness. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, post a comment on what you think. I've been Listen Watch Go. Cheers.